Welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So today we're going to be looking at humanism.
Right, humanism.
And we're going to be drawing from the Little Book of Humanism by Andrew Copson.
Great book.
And have you ever wondered how to, build a fulfilling life
Yeah.
based on, reason and compassion without relying on religion?
That's a great question.
That's exactly what we're going to be kind of unpacking today.
Yeah, a lot of people think humanism is just about rejecting religion.
Oh, interesting.
But this book really highlights that it's more about what you do believe in.
Okay, so what exactly is humanism then?
So at its core, it's a philosophy that emphasizes human values and agency.
Okay.
And it's about using reason, ethics, and our shared human experience to guide our choices and actions.
So, we humans kind of figuring things out on our own.
Yeah.
But how is that different from just being a good person?
That's a great question.
You know?
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people do strive to be good.
Right.
But humanism takes it a step further. Think of it this way. Instead of blindly following traditions or dogma, humanists actively apply reason and evidence to their decision-making.
Oh, so it's like that one friend we all have that always asks why.
Exactly.
And actually wants to understand the reasoning behind things.
Yeah. So
Pushing you to think deeper.
I got it. Okay, so it's about thinking for yourself and not just going with the flow. But did humanism just kind of pop up recently?
Well, what's fascinating is that humanism has roots that go way back.
Really?
We're talking ancient Greece and Rome.
Wow.
Thinkers like Socrates,
Oh, yeah.
who constantly questioned everything, were early proponents of reason and ethics based on human nature.
Oh, so it's not some new age fad.
No, not at all.
It's been around for centuries.
Exactly. And those early ideas resurfaced during the Renaissance,
Okay.
with figures like Erasmus emphasizing human potential and creativity.
Interesting.
Fast forward to the Enlightenment,
Okay.
and thinkers like John Locke and David Hume.
Solidified the connection between reason, individual rights,
Yeah.
and a society built on evidence, not just authority.
Okay.
Like a thread weaving through history.
It's been building for centuries, adapting and evolving.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So you mentioned evidence and reason.
Uh-huh.
Does that mean science is a big deal for humanists?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Humanism is all about evidence-based thinking.
Okay.
And science is our most powerful tool for understanding the world around us.
Right.
It's about looking for proof-testing ideas and always being open to new discoveries.
So the opposite of just kind of accepting things at face value.
Exactly.
Okay, so I see the connection.
Yeah.
But can you give me a real-world example
Sure.
of how this scientific approach has actually played out?
Think about the incredible advancements in medicine.
Okay.
Vaccines, antibiotics, organ transplants. These life-saving innovations came about because people applied scientific inquiry
Right.
driven by the desire to improve human lives.
Yeah, that's a point that really hits home.
It is.
It's easy to take those advancements for granted.
Yeah.
So, okay, but what about ethics?
Mm.
If you don't rely on religious rules, how do humanists figure out what's right and wrong?
That's a question that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a good one.
Okay.
For humanists, empathy is key.
Okay.
It's about considering how your actions impact others and striving to create a world where everyone can flourish.
Okay, that sounds good in theory,
Right.
but isn't that subjective? What about universal moral principles?
While individual values may differ,
Yeah, that's true.
humanists advocate for a system where actions are judged by their consequences.
Okay.
Does an action contribute to human well-being or does it cause harm?
Okay.
That's the ultimate test.
So it's like a cause and effect approach to ethics.
You could say that.
I like that.
Yeah.
So where do we see this playing out in the real world?
You see it everywhere. Humanists are often at the forefront of social justice movements fighting for equality and human rights.
Okay.
They create secular ethics codes for professions, ensuring everyone is treated fairly. It's not just about personal beliefs, it's about making a real difference in the world.
So it's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly.
Okay, so now let's get a bit existential for a moment.
Okay.
If there's no higher power dictating our purpose,
Yeah.
how do we find meaning in life as a humanist?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Humanists believe that we create our own meaning.
Okay.
It comes from personal growth relationships, creative expression,
Right.
and contributing to something larger than ourselves. We're not just fulfilling a predetermined destiny, we're writing our own stories.
So no pre-written script.
Right.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
Sure.
Can you give me some examples of people actually living this out?
The book shares some inspiring stories like Jane,
Good.
who built a literacy nonprofit.
Yep.
She found both personal fulfillment and created a positive social impact.
That's great.
Yeah, you can also think about artists, musicians, scientists, activists.
Right.
They're all driven by passions that enrich their lives and the lives of others.
So finding what lights you up
Yeah,
and makes the world a better place.
exactly.
Now, I'm curious how this plays out in those like big life events,
Yeah.
births, weddings,
Yeah.
even funerals.
Those are all part of life.
Yeah.
And humanists approach them in a way that focuses on human connection and personal meaning
Okay.
without religious elements.
I have to admit, I'm picturing something very different from traditional ceremony.
It is different,
But
but in a
right.
very meaningful way.
Okay.
For example, imagine a baby welcoming ceremony
Right.
where family and friends share their hopes for the child's future,
Okay.
emphasizing love and community support.
Yeah.
Or think about weddings where the vows are personally written, reflecting the couple's unique story and love.
Right.
Even funerals can be about celebrating the individual's life and impact,
Yeah.
providing comfort and closure for those left behind.
So it sounds like taking those traditional milestones and infusing them with personal meaning,
Yes,
making them more authentic.
exactly. Humanism invites you to create rituals that truly reflect who you are and what you cherish.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really strikes me how humanism takes these big life moments and makes them even more meaningful, by focusing on the individual and their connections.
Yeah.
But speaking of connections, we can't talk about humanism without talking about social justice, can we?
You're absolutely right. It's not just about personal fulfillment. It's about making a difference in the world. And the idea that every human being has intrinsic worth is fundamental to humanism's approach to social justice.
Okay, so that's powerful. But what does that look like in action? How do humanists actually work towards social justice?
Well, you'll often find humanists leading the charge when it comes to advocating for human rights. Think about the fight for LGBTQ plus rights, working to end discrimination based on race or gender, or ensuring everyone has access to basic necessities like healthcare and education.
So they're really on the front lines tackling these big systemic issues.
Yeah.
Makes sense that humanism kind of fuels that passion for a fairer world.
It certainly does, but it's not just about those large-scale movements. It's also about addressing local issues within our own communities.
Okay.
Think about volunteering in a homeless shelter, supporting your local food bank, or working with organizations that help refugees.
Right. Those everyday acts of kindness, can really add up.
They do.
Putting those humanist values into action right where you live. But does that mean humanism leans towards a specific political viewpoint?
That's an interesting point, and it's something people often misunderstand. Humanism itself isn't tied to any particular political ideology. You'll find humanists on both sides of the political spectrum.
Oh, interesting.
United by that core belief in human dignity and a just and equitable society.
So it's about finding common ground and working together to build a better future, even when you might disagree on the specifics.
Exactly.
Focusing on those shared human values.
Yes, recognizing that we're all in this together and that ensuring everyone has the opportunity to flourish is essential to our collective well-being. As we've been talking about all of this, I can't help but think about all the incredible individuals throughout history who've embodied these humanist ideals.
Oh, absolutely. So many people have dedicated their lives to fighting for justice, advancing science, creating art that moves us, and building a more compassionate world.
It's truly inspiring to think about their legacy.
It is.
We're all part of this chain of human progress, each generation, building on the work of those who came before us.
And that highlights something important, doesn't it? Humanism isn't just some philosophy for the elite or the highly educated. It's a way of thinking and living that's accessible to everyone.
Absolutely. Whether you're a scientist searching for cures, a teacher inspiring young minds, an artist expressing their soul, or just a person striving to be kind and compassionate, you can embrace these principles and make a difference.
We often talk about how diverse human experiences are.
Yeah.
Yet there's that common thread of humanity connecting us all. We all share the same basic needs and desires.
Right.
The need to love and be loved, to find meaning and purpose, to create something beautiful, to leave the world a little better than we found it.
It's like we're all part of this massive, intricate tapestry, each thread unique and valuable, yet woven together to create something much greater than the sum of its parts. And humanism reminds us to appreciate both the individuality and the interconnectedness of human existence, celebrating our differences while recognizing our shared humanity.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I have a much deeper understanding of humanism now.
Good. I'm glad.
It's not just about rejecting religion. It's a positive, proactive way of life that offers a real guide for living a meaningful and ethical life.
And remember, it's not a static set of rules. It's a roadmap that's constantly evolving. As we, both as individuals and as a society, learn and grow, embracing reason, empathy, and the power of human connection to build a better future for ourselves and for generations to come.
I love that, not a rigid doctrine, but a living, breathing philosophy
Right.
that encourages us to question, explore, and strive to be our best selves.
Exactly. And as we wrap up our deep dive into humanism, I keep coming back to this one question.
Oh, what's that?
If you could design a world based on reason, empathy, and human flourishing, what would it look like? What would be different?
That's such a thought-provoking question.
Isn't it?
It's a challenge to take everything we've discussed and apply it to create a better future. A
Mhm.
future where everyone has a real chance to thrive, where differences are celebrated, and where our actions are guided by compassion.
That's exactly it. Taking these humanist principles and using them as building blocks for a world that reflects our highest aspirations for ourselves and for humanity.
Such a great point. To end on a call to action. An invitation to imagine and create a world that embodies the best of what it means to be human. Speaking of which, for our listeners who want to dive deeper into humanism, the Little Book of Humanism is a fantastic place to start.
Yeah, it really is. One of the things I appreciate about this book is that it doesn't shy away from those big, existential questions
Yeah.
about life and death and searching for meaning in a world where the answers aren't always clear-cut.
Yeah, it doesn't pretend life is all sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
It acknowledges the challenges we face, the sorrows, the uncertainty,
Liza?
but it offers a framework for navigating those difficulties with courage, compassion, and a commitment to making the world a little bit brighter. It feels very grounded in reality.
And at the end of the day, that's what humanism is all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Embracing our shared humanity, using reason and empathy to create a more just and compassionate world, recognizing that we have the power to shape our own destinies and leave a positive impact. It's a hopeful outlook, don't you think?
Absolutely. I'm feeling very inspired by this conversation.
Good.
It's like a reminder that we're not just passive passengers in this journey called life.
Right.
We can be active participants working towards a better future
Yeah.
for ourselves and for generations to come.
I couldn't agree more. And for everyone listening, remember, the world is full of wonder, possibility, and opportunity.
Yeah.
Go out there and make your mark. What will your contribution be?
Beautifully said. And on that note, it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive into humanism. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration. We hope you've learned something new today, that you've been challenged to think a bit differently, and that you feel inspired to embrace the power of humanism in your own life.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the fascinating world of ideas,